Here we go. And we're live everywhere else. So, and I just do a short intro here in 5 seconds. So, but all right, streamers, welcome to the show. You guys know the drill. We're no longer live by the Boss Talk Radio Network, which means fewer commercials for you guys. And yes, you got the dynamic duo. You've got Rich Darapoli and Frank Loveridge on the Shake and Bake team that they do not let appear together, at least on the Fox News Media Network. They probably don't let them appear on Newsmax or CNN or any of the other ones either. So, but hey, it should be lively today. I like the background, Rich. It's pretty sharp.
The city that never sleeps. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
So we should have. They actually did let us on Newsmax once.
Together? Oh, just once. It never happened after that, huh?
No. We were tossing it back and forth, and finally they thought we were taking over the show, and they just they killed it.
I doubt
How about that other one we did, Frank, where the guy actually got up from his seat and said, "All right, you guys got it."
He said, he goes, "There's no need for me." You got the show.
That was pretty funny.
You guys are like a host dream. In my case, the hostess dream. But you guys are like amazing. I can just get up and walk away, get coffee, go to the bathroom, whatever.
Wouldn't be the same without you.
No, we need that backbone there.
Do you see the video of me doing the glove challenge? Did you see that little video I put together?
I actually saw this. I saw the link to it, but I just saw the picture. I didn't see it.
I didn't realize it was you.
Yeah. So I went in Vegas during SHOT Show. I did the glove challenge. It was myself and Travis Yates, and so I put together a video with music. It's only like 40 some seconds long, but it shows it in slow motion. Us going through it. It's bouncing back and forth between me and Travis during the glove challenge, and we're trying anyhow. So it's 3 people involved in this little challenge. It's Leo Roundtable. We supplied the panelists that are getting gloved, and then we got Compliant Technologies. They actually own the glove, and then we got the Wounded Blue. We wanted to donate to a good charity, so we picked Randy Sutton's thewoundedblue.org. So in Vegas, now there were some people that didn't show up, so that were supposed to be there. You guys obviously weren't supposed to be there, but so it ended up only being me and Travis, which is fine. We both gloved up and got gloved. And the deal is that whoever lasts the longest without complying wins a free pair of the gloves. And the person that donates to the Wounded Blue in their name, so in either my name or Travis's name, whoever gives the most amount of money in the name of the person that ends up winning the challenge, they also win a pair of the gloves. And the gloves are valued at over $1,700 a pair. Now, an individual cannot own the gloves, even if you're active law enforcement. It can only be owned by an agency. But so let's say if I win, I'll donate mine to the Tampa Police Department. They'll get trained and they'll get at least one pair of gloves for free. And the agency gets their, the glove gets their foot in the door for the agency. If Travis wins, he'll do the Tulsa Police Department, and whoever sponsors the most amount of money in our name, they also get a pair that they can donate to an agency. So it's a win-win for the glove people because they get in 2 different agencies, and I get to at least say I want a pair of the gloves, even though I don't get to carry them. I get to give them to an agency, so I get that feel-good feeling, And so you got to watch the video. I'm telling you, I know I put it together and came up with the music, but it was a lot of work, and I think you guys are going to like it. So,
what did that?
Chip, I got a question for you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What did that feel like?
Well, I'll tell you, there was a childhood memory that came back when I was getting gloved immediately. Well, number one, we came up with a safe word in the word to get them to release, and Travis. Okay. That was Travis's idea, and the word was stop. So all we have to do is say stop, yell stop, whatever, and they release. I couldn't freaking remember the name of the word. That's how bad it is. When they say it, you can't think of anything like escape, going for a weapon. It is true. You literally, all I had to do was think of the stupid word stop. I swear I couldn't think of it. Wow. And so what did it feel like? When I was a kid, I used to stick a metal key into outlets. Yeah. And so when you get shocked, you normally release, and you just feel a shock, you let go. But as a kid, I remember the electricity pulsates. It's not like a constant. It's like it pulses. And so when I was getting gloved, that's what I felt. I felt it was that back from childhood, because I would hold on to that key and it would like boom, boom, boom. That is it. You're getting freaking electrocuted, but it's isolated. So I got grabbed at the wrist, and it was from my wrist down to my fingertips. When he let go, finally, my fingertips still tingled for about 5 minutes. Yeah. But there was no smoke, there was like no red marks or anything like that. You were like 100% immediately afterwards, but it was like getting electrocuted, but not through your whole body. It's completely isolated, but you don't want a part of it. And you can't even, and I was starting to panic about not being able to remember the word. And Travis had the same experience. He just couldn't remember either. It was just crazy. Yeah. So it is so effective. I'm telling you, if I would have had this when I was working, I could have avoided so many nasty, knockdown, drag out fights. Oh my gosh, it would have been great. So,
right, yeah. They'd be great to try out on some of the tellers.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. You know what? They come up a little short on their draw. You know what?
Oh, I'll tell you, ICE and Border Patrol, this is what they need. And, when people are filming and the optics are bad, this helps eliminate most of that, because it doesn't go on. It's over in like a second, All right, we're going radio, guys. I got to start the music. Okay. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip the Block, and I'm your host, and we're a group of law enforcement professionals that talk about today's news and issues, but we do it from a law enforcement perspective. Let me introduce the crew. Guys, if you don't mind waiting from the for the video portion of our show, we have 2 Secret Service special agents in charge, 2 SACs, and or Leos that work for federal agencies. You know what a SAC is, and that sounds like it could almost mean a lot of different things. But anyhow, we have Rich Starapoli. Thanks for being on the show, Rich. And I like the tagline under your name, King in the North. And then we've got Frank Leverage as well. Is there a story behind that? Come on, Rich. You got to tell me.
Somebody's got to lay claim to the title and take Brooklyn back from Kami Mandami. So it's going to be me.
Okay. I absolutely love it. And Frank, thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it. A shout out to our sponsors. We have Goals at Goals.com, our title sponsor, CompliantTechnologies.com, our satellite sponsor. We've got Gunlearn.com, on Medicare.live, Safeguard Recruiting, our streaming sponsor. Thanks to them, we're streaming to over 1 million followers right now during the live show. And we've also got TwoBells.com that built our new online store at LeoRoundtable.com. So check it out. You can get like the shirt that I'm wearing there, and you don't pay anything extra for it. We it's bare bones pricing. We don't make a dime off of it. We're just trying to get our gear out there into the hands of people. So thanks in advance for checking that out. Also, a shout out to Brian Burns for the Tampa Free Press at TampaFP.com. Thanks for carrying our content, Brian. We also have Ray Diedrich carrying us at formerlawman.com and Travis Yates with lawofficer.com. So thanks to all those entities for helping make the show happen. And now, what in the world are we talking about today? Guys, we got a couple update stories. And yeah, the first one, we got the dynamic duo. And for this one, Kash Patel gets testy with Brett Baer, of all people, on Fox. And Baer is pressing Kash about the Trump assassination attempt details. They want more details. And I'm not really, I'm a detail guy when it comes to it, but I understand that there's just stuff that we just don't need to know, but we'll talk about that. Then we got DHS, Department of Homeland Security. They're pulling 700 federal officers from Minnesota after an unprecedented cooperation with the state. Now, it depends on what side is telling the story, because this is MSN, and I agree that normally pretty liberal, but you'll see somewhere where Trump and the DHS, they bow down to the libs who want them out of Minneapolis, and then you see statements from Holman saying, "Hey, we've got unprecedented cooperation, so that's why we're out of there. We're taking 700, but we're leaving 1,000 or more there." Then we got Ryan Ruth gets, and I don't normally give the names of bad guys, but for the purposes of this story, and this is the final chapter on the sentencing. So our Ryan Ruth, attempted Trump assassin, he gets a life sentence for the assassination attempt. And then we got body cam showing a man fatally shot by deputies serving child porn warrant in Miami-Dade. There's a lot to talk about. Then we got video shows O'Fallon, police officer fatally shooting a knife-wielding suspect after 2 people get stabbed, and ICE agents chase down. And I can't believe this is still going on, guys. And an ICE agent chases down another illegal alien. This guy's a sex predator after another judge lets a bad guy walk out the back door so they can't get a hold of him. This is crazy. Then NYPD body cam video shows a cop shooting a mentally ill Queens man, charging at him with a knife. And then lastly, Jacksonville police officers fatally shoot a domestic violence suspect when he pulls out a gun. So if you guys are ready, let's take the Cash Patel one first, and then we'll take the Minneapolis one. But the libertydaily.com, and that is thanks to Rich for hooking me up with the Real Clear Politics and all the sources they have. So Cash Patel gets testy as Brett Baier presses him about the Trump assassination attempt details. And this was on Tuesday on Fox News when, of course, Fox News anchor Brett Baier, we love Brett, he pressed Cash Patel on what the public still does not know about the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Now, I don't fault Brett for asking the questions, but he didn't want to let it go though either though. So Thomas Matthew Crooks, the full name, of course, all bad guys have three names, we know, of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. He opened fire at President Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania back in July of 2024. So think about that, guys. That's been about, what, a year and a half. Secret Service agents killed him after an attack that left at least one attendee dead and forced Trump off the stage. And during Patel's interview on Special Report with Brett Baier, Baier said Americans still lack a clear, comprehensive picture of the shooter, and he asked why key details are still not public. Now, Baier said, I don't think we, the public, have a more robust picture of that shooter. And I think that's an unfair supposition, is what Cash Patel responded. He said, we at the FBI have put out all the information that we possibly and legally can while protecting any ongoing matters that are unrelated. And he goes on to say, he's very much dead, which we know. But at the same time, Brett, we at the FBI have to follow the parameters of our investigation and what the law allows us to release. And he goes, I get it, but I guess where are the cell phones? Why don't we know who he's talking to? What exactly happened is what Brett Baier asked. And then Cash responds, hey, we provided 40,000 pages of documents to Congress. That's a 400% increase from what the prior two directors did. We will continue to provide the information with our partners on Capitol Hill when we are legally able. It's never going to be enough for everyone, which is absolutely true. It's never going to be enough. We're not saying trust us. We're saying we did an exhaustive search of that. We presented that information to the DOJ, and a decision was made on what to release. And Baier then continues to press him on whether federal investigators fully disclose what they knew about Crooks, prompting Patel to argue that the FBI releases information consistently, and it kind of goes back and forth after that. So I could keep going, but it's really the argument and the points are pretty much the same. There's this back and forth going on, and then they start talking about Crooks, registered a Republican, donated $15 to the Progressive Turnout Project through Act Blue in January. An anonymous source told the Daily Beast that agents accessed encrypted phone data and found his final search involved pornography and recent texts from his parents asking his whereabouts. And then it kind of goes on. There's other stuff about the Heritage Foundation, the Oversight Project, and other things talking about whether he acted alone at the Butler rally. And it just kind of goes on and on and on. Rich Staropoli, you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, listen, there's plenty about Crooks and this other guy, Ruth, that I'd love to know about, as well. But I think, Cash Patel going into it with Brett Baier surely was briefed generally on what the topic was going to be. And he should have been better prepared. Hey, just give one answer. Look, Brett, it's still part of an ongoing investigation. I'm simply not going to talk about these things. Let's move on. And I don't care how many different ways Brett Baier is going to ask it. That's the answer. There's no reason to get testy or come across as being, overly aggressive to the point where it seems like you're hiding something. You're the director of the FBI. You simply go with the answer. Listen, what's out there is out there. You don't need to go into, released 40,000 pages and I've interviewed 500 people. Nobody cares. Either you're going to release it or you're not. And his answer should have simply been, hey, I've said before, I am not prepared at this time to release any more information. And that's the end of the story. And it's simply like that. There's enough members of the media that are incredibly anti-police and anti-federal agent. Certainly that's not the case with Brett Baier. So no need to get testy or argumentative. Just keep it simple and move on to the next topic. So part of that, though, I blame the people who prep Cash when he's going on these shows, because we've seen this happen a number of times at some of the press conferences he's given. He's just not the most well versed in dealing with the press one-on-one. But I got to support the guy. Listen, there's still a lot going on here. I would love to know every small detail. It's simply not going to happen at this point in time.
No, I got you, Frank.
Yeah, I think the first problem we have is going back to the right after the assassination attempt when you had Deputy Director of the FBI, Paula Bate, who came out and painted the picture of Thomas Matthew Crooks as being a Republican, anti-immigrant, immigration, and but we know that after COVID in 2020, he did a 180 and started to then put anti-Trump posts out there and got into certain sexual activity, this new phenomenon called furry, which I still don't 100% understand. But all this is going on, and it seems to me like the narrative just didn't fit, so it wasn't discussed. So transparency was a problem back then, and all we're asking for is a little more information. Look at the phones. He had 2 cell phones, encrypted applications. They went to Germany, Belgium, New Zealand. I mean, this is something that I think people want to know. Who was he talking to? Who was he talking to right up until the time that he actually attempted to assassinate former President Trump at the time? So I think this is the questions the American people have, and Brett kind of pushed him on it. I agree. Kash Patel has done a completely turnaround. Has done a great job at moving forward, and look at what we've already. The pipe bomber investigations have now moved forward. I mean, all these things are happening. So I'm very proud of what's going on with the FBI. But I have to agree with Richie. I don't think he was prepped for that interview. And when Brett pressed him, these are some of the things we wanted to know. And if you can't tell us it's an ongoing investigation. That's fine. We'll understand that. But I think it was not handled the way it should have been.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Frank. Listen, I'd love to have the answers to all those questions, especially about the cell phone. And we can probably compile a list of 100 questions we want answered. But here's the guy. He's on Fox. You're sitting there with Bret Baier, who's a legitimate journalist, right? And he's giving you plenty of airtime. The answer just should have been, hey, I'm not going to tell you. That's it. Move on. How could you not expect he's going to keep pressing you on these questions?
Right. And that's his job. Right.
It is. Yeah, I get it. I know that some people who have never been involved in investigations, and look, I know that what I've done, even though I've done some pretty substantial stuff, this is at a whole different level. We're talking about with the Secret Service and attempted assassination on a president and stuff. But I can appreciate that let's just say that there was maybe a foreign actor involved here. I can appreciate why maybe you don't want that information to get out. Timely. You're right. There may be some reasons why you would want to hold on to that or keep that close to your vest for an amount of time. But I see your point. It probably would have swallowed a lot easier, gone over a lot better if he just said, look, there are things that I know that I simply can't tell you. And it would compromise things. And hopefully you can appreciate that. And I think that everybody would say, yeah, we want to know, but we understand, So I get it. Good point. All good points, guys. Good commentary. We're 15 seconds out for first commercial break. Stick with us. We're talking about goals. We'll be right back. All right, guys, it's time to talk about our title sponsor, Gulls at Gulls.com. I'm wearing a pair of Gulls tactical pants right now. Richie's in a jacket. I don't know if he is or not. It may not go good with the blazer, but hey, as police officers, we all know that. Look, what we do, we love the bike gear. Gosh, we're so good at it, especially when you throw the online option. It gets even better. But I want to remind everybody about what's really important here. It's about supporting the companies that actually support law enforcement. And I don't know of a company that does that better than Gulls at Gulls.com. Even their motto, as you can see in the banner behind me, is proud to serve those who serve, which of course they do in spectacular fashion. And not only that, they walk the talk by supporting dozens of focused organizations like this radio show. So when you're looking for gear, please support our title sponsor by going to Gulls at Gulls.com, and they're going to do you one better. For the loyal listeners of the show, they've given me a radio code that I can give to you in order to get 15% off your next purchase. It's Radio 15. Type in Radio 15 at Gulls.com in order to get 15% off of most purchases. Again, that is at Gulls.com. You'll be glad that you did. All right, we got 2 minutes before we come back to the radio portion of the show, guys. And all right, we're off to a good start. I am wearing my Gulls tactical pants, and during that video where you didn't see it, but when I was getting gloved and I was like flipping around on the floor and stuff, I had these pants on, and dude, they're double stitched, as you guys know, and dude, they didn't tear. I wasn't worried about it, and I even think that they're waterproof on the inside because nothing leaked out, while I was being gloved. You couldn't tell on the outside, so it was like amazing.
Yeah. You don't want anything to leak out, that's for sure, Chip.
I was cracking jokes about bladder control and all this stuff before I got gloved, and they're just jokes. But then it gets in your head and you start thinking, well, crap, I wasn't worried about it, but I've been joking so much online about it. Crap, if I'm being filmed and something happens, and all of a sudden the sweat spot appears, that ain't going to be too cool, but I can rest assured I was completely dry afterwards. They've never had an incident like that. But it does get in your head when you start cracking jokes like that. You just think, crap, man, everybody's looking at you, waiting to see. They're going to be. I've actually have arrested guys where, dude, it'll just like I've even had a stream like shoot out the pants. I mean, inside. I mean, not. But I've had it. It's not a. What I'm talking about. The fabric will interfere with it, but I've actually had it go out of the pants, not just where they soak. I've actually had it like make it past the pants with so much force. It's crazy, some of the stuff I've seen. So,
wow.
So, Rich, I don't know if you remember this. We did a buy bust over at Crosby Avenue in Brooklyn. Yep. I'll make it. Okay, you got to go quick, but covered the back, buy bust. Guy pissed himself totally. So, what? It happens, right? Go ahead.
Yep. Can't use that word. We'll be right back. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host. We're joined by Secret Service Sachs, Frank Loveridge, and Rich Darapoli. So thanks for being on the show, guys. Appreciate it. We have been talking about Kash Patel appearing on Fox News with Brett Baier and being heavily questioned, by Brett and pressed about more information being released about the Butler attempted assassination on Trump. So any more information on that, guys, before we go to Minneapolis? Rich?
Yeah, one thing I'd love to add is I think the key question I think I would have asked Kash, if you want to press him on anything, is tell me what the FBI has been doing in the year plus since the assassination attempt, right? I get you don't want to release any information, but is there even still an ongoing investigation, and what are you looking into, right? Because I think that would quell a lot of the questions that the public's got. But again, it speaks to the preparation. You're the director of the FBI. You're going to be asked about at least one of these assassination attempts. Yeah. You've got to have a better answer than, I'm not telling you, Brett. And then Brett says, well, let me ask it this way. I'm not telling you, Brett. Well, let me ask it this way. You can't have that back and forth. He should have been able to shut that down or fend it off a little bit better.
Yeah. That's a good point. Because
what are you going to
do? Go ahead, Frank.
I was just going to say the Tucker Carlson documentary that came out with the all of the different social media was going on with Thomas Crooks. That gives people the appetite to learn more about what happened and who he was dealing with. So I think that was something that drove that a little bit. And you've got to realize your environment when you go into these interviews, and you have to be able to be prepared for these. And I just think he could have elaborated a little bit more on the investigation itself, without giving out the details.
Right.
That's a good point. You've got these other, well, let's face it, the mainstream journalism is not what it once was, right? So there are these other entities, and Tucker, a lot of people have a lot of, they're very inquisitive after listening to guys like Tucker. And Richard brought up a great point that, his out, Kash Patel's out, is that it's an active investigation. And that's all you have to say, because that justifies you not divulging, more information that can compromise that. So that's a good point. I would have liked to have heard that too. So if you guys are ready to go to Minneapolis, we've got some stuff. I just touched on this yesterday on yesterday's show. Didn't get into it. We got a little bit more information about MSN.com. So DHS, Department of Homeland Security, they pull 700 federal officers from Minnesota after an unprecedented cooperation with the state, according to Tom Homan, our border czar. Now, I already, prefaced this at the beginning of the show about it really depends on what source you're listening to, because you've still got Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey and I'm sure even Chief O'Hara that are saying, we didn't, we won, we didn't cooperate with them, and they left and they put their tails between their legs and they're gone, right? But then you're getting the other side of the story too. So the Trump administration will pull, according to our article, remember this is MSN, 700 federal immigration officers from Minnesota as a result of cooperation from Democratic officials in turning over criminal illegal immigrants in jails. And this is what Tom Homan asked for, according to the White House border czar Tom Homan. Now, notice I said the state of Minnesota. I didn't say Minneapolis. I said the state. So they're pulling 700 officers or feds from the entire state, not just Minneapolis. Hogan announced on Wednesday morning that him and his senior Homeland Security officials have made significant progress in discussions with Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and other state and county officials. I have not seen those officials he's talking about mirror what he's saying. Effective immediately, we will draw down 700 people effective today, 700 law enforcement personnel, and that's what Homan said during the press conference. He said that the 700 federal officers leaving are a mixture of ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, and the Office of Field Operations, which I'm not really sure exactly who they are. Maybe you guys can answer that question. About 2,000 federal officers will actually remain in the state after downsizing. So 700 coming out statewide, 2,000 staying in. And he says that we currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now, and they're allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. He's talking about the jails before they get released, which I agree. If that's really happening, wow. Now, Homan has asked Minnesota officials repeatedly to allow ICE to take custody of illegal immigrants in local and state jails rather than release them out into the public, which is what's been going on. The ability to apprehend people while in jail can be done with 1 or 2 ICE officers rather than having the 8 to 10 officers entering a community to arrest somebody. And then, of course, the agitators that are now, it got so bad that they were roadblocking and stopping people and getting tags and personal identification information stuff. And then, we've got we were covering yesterday, Minneapolis police officers, when they finally were allowed to leave the freaking station because, they weren't going out unless there was an ICE shooting, then they wanted to go out and seize evidence so they could prosecute the ICE officer. But now they're going out telling people to move the blockades because emergency equipment like fire trucks and rescue can't get through. People refuse to, and the police officer walks away. No enforcement, anything. Just freaking embarrassing. So, guys, commentary on this one. Interesting. Rich?
I got to tell you, I am not a fan. I do not support pulling 7 people out, let alone 700. If anything, I'm sending 7,000 more in there because the other side, the Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, chief knucklehead over there, is going to take the opportunity to claim victory. And I'm not giving him any opportunity to do that. And I've said this before on Fox and Newsmax. I would take every one of my people because now my primary concern is safeguarding the backs of my ICE agents and my Border Patrol guys and making sure that these lunatics that are empowered by Walz and Frey and this police chief who's allowed them to set up these roadblocks. What are you kidding me? You're stopping cars in the street and the cops just stand there and don't do anything. My primary concern now has got to be the safety of the people I'm putting out there so that they can do their job effectively and safely. Pulling anybody out of there, look, I love Tom Homan, but I'm not quite sure what the rationale is behind that. This isn't a negotiation. We're not dealing with another foreign country. Right? The federal authorities, the schools I went to said federal law supersedes state and local authority. I'd send every one of my guys in there. I'd lock that entire town down until I locked up every one of these illegal aliens that are there, to include Walz and Frey, who I still can't believe haven't been put in handcuffs. So with that, Frank, it's all yours.
Well, there is actually an investigation going into their obstruction. So that is going on. DOJ is looking into that. But I just want to tell you, this was unfortunately a lot to do with public opinion. I think it started to shift after the Alex Pratty shooting, in which we're still, the jury's out on that one right now. We got to go to a commercial break. So
hey, you're getting good. You're trying to take over my job. Look at that. Hey, we are coming up on our second commercial break, guys, but it's getting really interesting. Good commentary. When we come back, we'll talk about Trump's interview yesterday where he said, I think we can be a little bit softer, a little bit nicer. But second commercial break, we'll be right back. All right, guys, we're time to talk about Compliant Technologies at complianttechnologies.com, and they're committed to providing non-lethal solutions to help officers gain the upper hand safely and rapidly in a humane, low ethics manner, utilizing what they're called their CD3, which stands for Conductive Distraction and De-escalation Technology. Now, their flagship product, we all know by now, is called the Glove. It's not only helped officers tens of thousands of times, it's helped officers over 250,000 times. And guess how many injuries they've had? 0. no injuries. That's right. They've achieved non-lethal status in an arena that predominantly can only offer less lethal results. And when it comes to transitioning to a weapon or to a conductive energy weapon, they have virtually eliminated weapons confusion. So stay ahead of the game with Compliant Technologies and the revolutionary CD3 that hundreds of agencies have already tuned to nationwide. And friends, take it from me, when it comes to safety, this is one of the most common sense, hands-on solutions that's ever come along. Let's go to the Compliant Technologies today. Again, complianttechnologies.com. All right, we've got 4 minutes before we come back to the radio portion of the show. And wow, we're off to a good start. And just like that, bam, half the show's over. Just like that. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was just going to
ahead.
add to what I was saying. I never, but bottom line is, I think public opinion had shifted, and they were concerned about that. The tactics were all wrong, the way they were doing it, but that wasn't their fault. The fact that the state of Minnesota,
save that for the radio, because we'll be back on radio in 3.5 minutes.
Copy that. Then let's just talk about something else. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. I'll give you something, right? I'm looking at that Gulls banner behind you. I just want to point out that Gulls makes an outstanding pair of pants, and they've got this super stretch quality to them. I think they're perfect. Gulls should go out and give those out at the next Secret Service job fair. So when they recruit some of these plus size models that want to become Secret Service agents, they can just drop them right into a nice pair of Gulls pants.
Right, extra fabric.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's all about, Frank.
Yeah. So they've got their, you know what, Gulls normally they normally don't make products, right? They have everything but guns and ammo.
Right.
Pretty much. And they carry 511 tactical, they carry Danner boots, Under Armour. So they carry things that are made by other people. However, the tactical pants that Rich is talking about, and we each have a pair, they make, and they're called Mission Made is the name. Mission Made. So when you go to thegulls.com and if you look for their Mission Made, you're not just buying a pair of pants that has like Gulls' name on it. These things are super well made. Rich brags about how they don't fade when they go on. And I've only washed my pair one time, because I wear like 20, 30 times before I wash my pants. But I'm joking with that. But no, but I haven't washed mine a lot. Because I had my leg was in a brace and I couldn't even get the pants until I got, had to wear a brace for like 9 months, but anyhow, as long as I've had mine and been able to wear them, man, they have not faded at all. And I know you've washed yours a lot more than me, Rich, and that's important, and mine are tan. They have different colors, but I like the tan personally.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, some thought went into putting these things together with the double stitching and everything else. I've climbed over fences and moved furniture around, and you do that with BDUs. They have a tendency to get hung up on stuff. Not these things. So I'm not an apparel representative, but good job on these things.
Well, the pockets have got, when you have pockets that are zippered or Velcroed and stuff, they've got a flap over, the pocket that protects it from snagging and stuff, which can happen. And then I've got a special pocket for my knife because I like to carry, a switchblade, and I've got a special pocket just for that. So there's little details that, maybe if you've never had that before, that level, you don't know what you don't have, or you don't know what you don't know, but once you have it, you think, wow, it's hard. It's going to be hard to go back to a pair, that doesn't have the protective flap and doesn't have the knife pocket and all these other things, so yeah.
Well, I'm just envious of all of you for having these Gulls pants, because I don't have. So someday I am going to have 2 LEO Roundtable mugs coming in the mail here shortly, because I purchased.
Oh, you ordered 2?
I ordered 2. I want to make sure if I break one, I have another one backup. So it's
Frank was mentioning off air that he had ordered a couple. He doesn't have them in yet, and it's from our online store at leoroundtable.com. And of course, Two Bells built a new online store. And I was telling Frank that they are actually the mug he ordered. Even though this is the mug that I have, have new mugs in production right now. So if you order a mug, you're not getting this one. You're getting a bigger and better looking one, and the logo is on both sides of it. Little things like that. So whether you're right or left-handed. The one I have, it only shows up if I drink it left-handed. Do you get to see the logo? So, back to radio. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host. We're joined by two former Secret Service special agents in charge, Rich Darapoli and Frank Loveridge. We've been talking about Minneapolis and the aftermath. And I say the aftermath. I don't think for a second we are done with Minneapolis. I know that Tom Homan, our border czar, and we love Tom Homan. Talk about a freaking pit bull, sometimes in a China shop. That guy's tough, but they have withdrawn 700 federal agents out of the state of Minnesota. We're not talking about just strictly Minneapolis, but they've left 2,000 feds. They've left them in the state still, but we're talking about the optics. You know, Holman's saying, hey, we're getting all this cooperation now. We don't have to send in this many people because we've got counties and stuff that are letting us grab these people from the jails instead of having to have a huge show of force to do so. Rich was bringing up a good point about, when the going gets tough, man, just have that use of force and just hammer them. We were making it very difficult on them. But then Frank Loveridge brings up the point about public opinion. And, there are a couple courts in this land. One's the legal court system and one's the court of public opinion. And if you're winning the court of public opinion, it can you can arguably sometimes that could be more important than the other way around. So guys, let's I know we got some more to say about this. Rich, you want to start us off?
Yeah, you listen, I fully support Tom Homan. I think the guy's great. That number 700 didn't come out of the blue, right? So there's a reason he picked that number. So I don't mean to imply that he's acquiescing in any way. I just don't like the optics that it puts out there of us even pulling one guy out of there. But, and you've done this before, I can do just as much with 700 fewer people if I deploy the people I have maybe differently or better, or pick different objectives, but I just don't like making it seem like we're acquiescing to any of these liberal woke lunatics that are out there.
Well, yeah, Richie. Well, let me ask a question, Frank, for both you guys. Let's say that Homan's correct, even though the mayor and the governor aren't saying that this is going on. If they really are cooperating, maybe if they don't want to publicly say they are, but if they quietly are, say, look, yeah, we've had a couple people killed. I mean, granted, we've got the agitators that are. Most of them don't even live there, right? But so that's a bad situation because the police aren't taking care of it. So now the feds are having to take care of roadblocks and all this other kind of crap they shouldn't have to deal with. But if they really are cooperating, even if it's secretly, and they don't really need, if the manpower, if they don't really need it, and it's creating more problems because now everybody knows that they're there and they're doing roadblocks that aren't being cleared and stuff. Would the answer really be the show of force still, you think, or would that be a plausible explanation or excuse for what he's doing?
So something had to occur there for Tom Homan to come out with that statement, right? So I don't know what transpired behind closed doors, but Tom Homan, he's not a stupid guy, right? No, There's no way he's just going to come out and say, I'm pulling 700 guys out without putting some thought into that whole thing. So, maybe there is something going on behind the scenes. I like to think so. Yeah. But you can't have these people setting up these roadblocks. Frank and I talked about that, and Frank can talk about it much more articulately than I can.
Well, I was just going to say real quick that, first of all, I think there were some conversations between the mayor and the governor and Tom Homan. There was some acquiescing going back and forth. I think the greatest advantage is to be able to go to the jails and be able to get these individuals while they're incarcerated. And that, of course, is going to cut down on the optics of what we're seeing in the streets where we're having to hunt these people down. So that's the first thing right there. So doing that obviously is a good move, not just for public opinion, but it's safety for the ICE officers as well. So I like to see that. But as far as the agitators go, they're going to still continue their efforts. They're still going to be out there. And I'm with you, Richie. I don't think we should draw down if we're still going to have to deal with protecting our ICE agents in the CBP while they try to do their jobs. So we got to think about that as well. But yeah, there were definitely some conversations that were done that acquiesced, and they had a compromise, and that's where we're at right now. And I think a lot of it was driven from the last shooting that occurred, the Alex Pratty shooting, which public opinion started to shift in a different direction. And let's face it, we need to make sure we continue these efforts, and we don't need public opinion against us.
If I have a feeling, Frank, if you were there in D.C. around this time, that there would be like hair fiber embedded in your grill, the front grill of your whatever you were driving, and you'd be an evidence technician's nightmare.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this.
You're talking to the guy. I saw this guy put handcuffs on a woman in a wheelchair once in the middle of the street and transport her to court. the magistrate looked at us like we were Secret Service. We were completely out of our minds. But you know what? He was right.
First of all, they all look the same in the books. We used to say, right? When you look at the arrest stats, an arrested is an arrest. That's one for the good guys. She did the crime. She was going to do the time, and that's all there is to it. I can't help the fact that she was about 2 weeks away from her deathbed, but just happened to be that way.
Hey, she wasn't dead yet.
Nope, she was alive, and she counted as a federal stat. But honestly, Rich, when I did bring him in, bail was not a consideration. I think she was released on personal recognizance.
So
unfortunately, she never made it to the trial.
Was she a flight risk?
I don't think so. I don't know how fast she could go. If she was going downhill with that wheelchair, maybe. I think maybe, but no, it was not motorized. If that's what you're asking.
Wow. All right. Well, look.
Thanks for bringing that up.
That's a perfect segue. And no, it's not a story with a dude in a wheelchair or an old lady in a wheelchair, but we've got another interesting article, WSJ.com. So we've got Ryan Ruth gets life sentence in the Trump assassination attempt. And he criticized Trump. The article says threatened to kill Vladimir Putin. He's a nurse or was a nurse who encountered or I guess a nurse who encountered Ruth in Ukraine told the publication that in 2024 in a video that she reported his behavior to the U.S. authorities. And a 60-year-old Honolulu man, this guy was convicted last fall of attempting to assassinate President Trump in 2024 and sentenced Wednesday to life in prison. And prosecutors say that he plotted to kill Trump at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, and back in September of 2024. So well, I guess that's actually been a little while, about almost a year and a half ago when Trump was running for president. And you guys, we've just made reference to that, in one of the previous stories. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon also sentenced him to an additional 7 years in prison for other offenses related to the assassination plot. Now, he represented himself in this is the most interesting part of the article. They say he represented himself during the trial. And you got to go through hoops to be allowed to even do that by a judge. And they've got to be, convinced of your, sanity, all that kind of stuff. And you've got to be doing somewhat of a decent job. But during the rambling opening statement, he told the jury that he never intended to kill Trump. U.S. Marshals said that he actually attempted to stab himself with a jail-safe pen after he was found guilty, and that he suffered no injury. So I guess he wasn't highly motivated to get it done. Any commentary on this life sentence on this guy, Frank?
Well, I'll tell you what, he committed premeditated murder, or he attempted murder of the president of the United States, former president. Let's face it. Okay, we go back to the book that he self-published, where he gave permission to Iran to kill President Trump. You look at the Dear World letter that he wrote, in which he said that he was going to assassinate, or he was attempting assassination on Trump, and if he failed, he was going to give a $150,000 bounty to anyone else to carry on the details. We know from his cell phone analytics that he was out there 17 times, at least 17 times, doing reconnaissance. And he had a sniper's nest all set to go, a weapon with a serial number that was filed down. And let's face it, if that Secret Service agent didn't spot him, and President Trump, who was one hole behind, had made it to that hole, we would have had a different outcome, and potentially a dead president. So all that being said, he can never see the light of day again, and he's got to be put away. And I do question his mental stability if we ever release this guy back on the street again, what he would do. Looking at what he's done in Ukraine and where he's traveled and all the other things he's done on social media as well, this person needs to spend the rest of his life in jail. Richie, what do you think?
Oh, I totally agree with you. I'll pick up on the comment you made about the Ukraine. We're not quite sure how he ends up in the Ukraine, but this is a guy who's deemed too mentally unstable by the Ukrainians to allow him to be given a weapon and take up arms and go to fight against the Russians. So they put him on a plane and send him back. I mean, competency hearing, why? I think at this point, we're well beyond arguing whether or not this guy's a nut job and he belongs back out on the streets or not. This guy needs to be locked away. But he's trying to play, and his attorney's trying to play the old Hinckley defense, where let's get this guy minimal amounts of time with full rights to, the commissary and TV privileges all day long. And eventually, he may make himself the model prisoner and find himself back out on the streets again. But Frank is right. Had that Secret Service agent not spotted that weapon, whether he spotted it because it was purposely put through the fence or not. We don't know yet, but that would have changed the entire course of history. There's no doubt that he would have killed the president.
Absolutely.
Wow. And I believe his attorney was asking for 27 years, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that is scary. Scary.
He's 60 years of age, so 27 years. I mean, good luck.
Yeah, in prison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I know that we're less than 30 seconds out from our next commercial break. The next story, I'm going to go out of order if it's okay with you. And I'd like to talk about the ICE agents having to chase down another illegal that a judge slides out the back door. Wow. Commercial break. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, guys, it's time to talk about GunLearn at gunlearn.com. And as law enforcement officers, we deal with guns and we deal with ammo every day, but it's what we don't know about them that gets us into trouble. Injuries, civil lawsuits, accidental discharges, misidentifications, lost prosecutions, and disciplinary issues. But gunlearn.com, they have your back. You can quickly become extremely firearm knowledgeable by simply learning 14 training modules from the convenience of your home or your office, or by attending a live seminar at gunlearn.com. You can also become a safe, accurate, and competent certified firearm specialist like our very own Captain Brett Bartlett and also attorney Ken Afianco. Now, the course has had huge success in raising the bar of firearm knowledge, and GunLearn has been a trusted source since way back in 2011 by gun manufacturers, federal agencies, forensic organizations, and even police departments nationwide. Now, the founder, Dan O'Kelly, has got a deal for you if you have your own agency. If you're a chief or a sheriff, you can host a seminar for absolutely no cost. It's an amazing opportunity. You can go to gunlearn.com to get more information. Again, that is gunlearn.com. All right, 2 minutes, guys, before we come back to the radio portion of the show. All right, moving along, man. I tell you, time is flying by the day.
Whew. Sure is. Yeah.
So, anybody got big plans for the weekend?
Oh, come on. The Super Bowl's this weekend, right?
Oh, that's right. Well, I'll plan on watching Super Bowl, but I don't watch much NFL. When they started taking the knee a few years back, it just, it's like growing up as a kid and loving baseball. And then I went to a doubleheader, Cincinnati Reds, Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. And dude, growing up, that was great, right? And then they did the strike thing, and I'm thinking it just left such a bad taste in my mouth. I hated baseball after that, and then the same thing happened with NFL football, and they started taking knees, dropping on and it just such a distaste, So but I will watch the Super Bowl. However,
not the halftime show.
Exactly. Dude, you know where I'm going. You're stealing my thunder, man.
Turning Point
USA has got a replacement halftime show that I'm going to be watching. I can't wait. And people are giving Trump flack about, why he doesn't want to attend the Super Bowl and the whole halftime thing. And guys, you have options. But they can track who watches these things. And I'm telling you, they will know that people are, it's gonna, if you want to affect change in this, don't watch the halftime show for the Super Bowl. Watch the Turning Point USA one. Or something else, and they'll know that you did that. So, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, if you're looking for something else to watch, when that halftime show comes on, switch over to Netflix and watch this documentary, The Boys of '80. It's the follow-up to the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, and it's just the most amazingly well done documentary I've ever seen.
Now, is it purposely done in the time frame for the halftime show, or?
Yeah.
No. It's on Netflix. You can watch it anytime.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go, guys. Back to radio. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip the Block, and I'm your host. We're joined by Secret Service Special Agents in Charge, formerly Rich Stirapoli, Frank Loveridge. Thanks for being on the show, guys. Now, we've covered a lot of really interesting, fascinating stories. And of course, sometimes I have to hold these stories before I get these guys on the show, right? I mean, they're so engaging, dynamic, and they're more importantly knowledgeable about this. But this is timely. This stuff just came out. I didn't have to hold on to it. It's just perfect timing. And if it's okay with you guys, we have this next story. I'm not going to go. We got a video story coming up that's really pretty sensational. But before we get there, because this is close to home with what we've been talking about, rvmnews.com, which stands for Red Voice Media, and they call it Red for a reason, if you guys are following my drift. ICE agents chase down illegal alien sex predator after judge lets him walk. Here we go. Federal immigration agents, but now we're in New York, right? So they're forced to pursue an illegal alien with a violent criminal history after a New York judge allowed him to leave a Manhattan courthouse despite having an active federal arrest warrant. And this, according to law enforcement sources, as reported by the New York Post. Now, the suspect, Geraldo Miguel Mora, he's 45 years old, arrested Thursday on shoplifting and possession of stolen property charges after allegedly stealing approximately $130 worth of merchandise from an H&M store in Midtown Manhattan. Now, the incident occurred the same day that he appeared in the Manhattan criminal court on a desk appearance ticket. He had previously been arrested back in January the 7th on the Upper West Side for possession of alleged crack cocaine. And, you know, a lot of these things don't matter whether it's, they say alleged crack cocaine, whether it's crack cocaine or Butadine, you know, fake or whatever, like it makes a difference according to a criminal complaint. And that case is still pending. According to police sources, this guy has a violent criminal history. Not to get into it, but I did read a 21-year-old woman, he follows her to her residence, chokes her, and attempts to remove her clothing. This dude's a bad dude. Law enforcement indicated that he's deported following that arrest, remained out of law enforcement databases for more than a decade. And so he was deported, right? Then he resurfaces, come back to the U.S. in 2023. And who was president then? I can't remember. And then he's arrested for allegedly presenting false identification. Now, federal authorities later obtained a criminal arrest warrant for Moore under a provision of federal law, reentry of removed aliens. And ICE, they delivered the warrant to the Manhattan criminal court ahead of his appearance. And this is where all this stuff goes down. Despite the warrant being provided to the court, Judge, remember the name, Sheridan Jack Brown, allowed this illegal to leave the courthouse through where? The front door? No, through a rear exit, according to multiple law enforcement sources. The shoplifting charge itself was not bail eligible, but sources said that this federal warrant that we're talking about, it should have prompted this guy's transfer into ICE custody. Here's a quote: "The warrant is actually put in a folder for the judge to use on the bench, and everything was sent over to him. Instead, this guy's released from the building back door, prompting ICE agents to pursue him outside the courthouse when they finally realized that this guy's been allowed to leave. They ultimately apprehend him. Now he's in federal custody. They refused to hand him over, a federal source said, and they let him out the back to avoid ICE." It kind of goes on to talk about potential prosecution, deportation, or both. And the sanctuary policies prohibit cooperation with federal immigration, agents. But we had an order, right? And then sources said federal authorities have recently encountered at least 3 other instances where stuff like this has happened. And federal prosecutors have previously pursued cases against judiciary accused of interfering like this. In Wisconsin, it was Judge Hannah Dugan convicted last year on felony, not misdemeanor, felony obstruction charges after assisting an illegal alien in evading ICE agents inside her courtroom back door, and she faces up to 5 years in prison. Man, I would love to see that again. Guys, 5.5 minutes, and hopefully we'll have time for the video story. Rich Derpoli.
Well, I got to ask, I don't see any difference between what this judge did and other judges have done than if you were a corrections officer and you open the door to the cell and allow these people to walk out. So I think 2 arrests should have been made here. One, the illegal alien, who is in fact a very bad guy, so no issue there. And then 2, this judge. What makes these judges think they can just do whatever they want? They're nothing more than a glorified bus driver, if you will, right? The guy's driving the bus. He goes from point A to point B. Same thing with the judge. He gets on the bench. You preside over what's going on. You leave the bench. Who the hell told you can just make up laws and do whatever you want to do and assist people in escaping from in this case, federal justice? It's unacceptable, and it won't stop until we start locking some of these judges up. Fully in favor of that. I don't see any issue with that.
Love it.
Richie, I agree 100% with you. I mean, this is ridiculous, right? These judges now are allowing their prisoners to escape and to evade, basically apprehension by ICE. This is, we've got to we've already held one judge accountable in Wisconsin, and we've got to hold these judges accountable. We have jury nullification going on with the juries. Now we have judicial nullification, where they believe that they can impose their beliefs on the judicial system, and that's incorrect. We've got to tighten this up. You know as well as I do, we've served under presidents that we may or may not have been in line with their ideology, but it didn't change the way we did our jobs. We did our jobs 100%, no matter who the president was. We protected the office of the presidency. Well, these judges have to protect the laws that are in front of them, because they're there to interpret those laws and to give people a fair trial, not to release them out the back door so they can escape. This is absolutely ridiculous, and it should not happen in this country.
Yeah, well, I think that I'm sure the three of us are on the same page here. But the part of the problem is, look, the average member of the American public has no idea what a judge does, right? They see them as some beacon of justice. But the three of us have been around and have appeared in enough justices, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners have, right, who are members of law enforcement. A lot of these judges should never even be in those positions to begin with. Are you kidding me? And you go to some of these municipal courthouses, and when these judges aren't doing their judge thing for 3 hours a week, sitting on the bench, they're managing the local quick check, making sure the coffee dispensers are filled. And this is who we're relying on. It only gets worse as you go up the chain, up to where, look at the act we saw from Justice Ketanji Brown, right? Supreme Court Justice sitting there at the Grammys. This is unacceptable. If Antonin Scalia was still alive, he would have punched her right in the face, right? But this is what you're seeing more and more from these judges. This is crazy.
Rich, you look at the decisions these judges make, and you can see who appointed them, and they usually align with that ideology. That's got to stop. They're there to call balls and strikes. They're not there to implement their ideology into the decision-making process of when someone is guilty or not guilty, based on the elements of a crime. So we've got to get back to the basics, and we've got to start interpreting the law and not legislating like they do from the bench. It's got to stop.
No, you're totally right. This rogue justice that we're starting to see more and more common throughout the judiciary is not a misnomer. That's exactly what's going on here. When you're helping somebody escape, you know what? You're going to find yourself wearing the silver bracelets just as quickly as we're going to go find that illegal alien. And it has to happen, because this has to stop.
It has to.
So I hope Pam Bondi's listening. We love you. Paige, I hope you're paid. And I know she is. We don't have to tell her how to do her job. She knows how to do it better. But we need to be the cheerleaders, supporting her. So we do. We got a minute and a half, guys. And I just want to at least be able to see we included one story, the video component. So let's go to Miami-Dade for this one. We have deputies fatally shooting. They're serving a child porn warrant in Miami-Dade, and they're using SWAT to deliver it. And I'm just going to put the article down. Well, bad guy's Christopher Barada, but then we've got his brother, Christian Barada, getting involved. So what happens is that, they're forcing the door open. We got guys coming out, including a woman and a child. And then we got the dude right with the handgun, who's the brother. He gets taken out by by their SWAT, basically. We got another brother in there and stuff, but a lot of drama going on. This is how it goes down. I was impressed that they use SWAT for this particular warrant, because some agencies have a policy where they do, but not everybody does. Any commentary on that? We got 39 seconds. It's how they do it Miami-Dade style. Rich?
Listen, any opportunity I have to use SWAT to execute a warrant, I usually would do that. I choose that option. It just gives me a heavy weapon, heavily uniformed presence, so no one can say, hey, we didn't know they were the cops, because we're hearing this more and more. So I think it was a good call using the SWAT team. No issue with that.
Yeah, I love it. They had ballistic shields. They had long guns. They had it covered. Did you want to weigh in, Frank?
I was going to real quick and say that sometimes we'd go over to Brooklyn into Richie's old neighborhood, and we'd have to have the NYPD ERT set up the perimeter just to protect our backs as we were going through the door on a knock and announce. So okay. I love the use. I think that was a great use of in deployment, and my hat's off to them.
All right, so good job, guys. We love it. Hey, that was Miami-Dade too. I tell you, it just brings back memories. Whenever I went to Police Week, and I went 10 years or so in a row. There was just between the Miami cops and the New York cops. You never know what was going to happen. It's just like it was crazy. But I do want to mention the Wounded Blue. But before I get there, thank you so much, Rich Darapoli and Frank Loveridge, for being on the show. You guys killed it today. I want to mention the Wounded Blue, Lieutenant Randy Sutton's 501c3, helping cops out in the world of hurt. Hey, our sponsors, Galls.com, please support them. CompliantTechnologies.com, Gunler.com, and Medicare.Life for recruiting, and TwoBells.com. Remember, the Galls gift card code is Radio15 for 15% off. We'll see you back tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern. And we got it about a little over a minute to keep the satellite company happy. We're going to, keep the thing live. But don't forget that we've got the glove challenge. If you guys want to win a free pair of the gloves over a $1,700 value, all you have to do is go to thewoundedblue.org. Under the event section, you got all the information about the contest. I don't think the video is posted there. I got to get them to put a link to the video. But the video, if you want to see the video, I'll tell you how they do that in a second. But go to the woundedblue.org. Under the event section, it has all the contest details. And when you make a donation in order to enter, you can either donate in the name of me, Chip the Block, or Travis Yates. We're the two guys from this show that ended up getting gloved, and whoever lasted the longest, and they will release those results after the end of this month, probably on Monday, which I believe is March the 2nd. And whichever one of us lasted the longest without complying, we will win a pair of gloves that we can donate to an agency. And if you guys donate, civilians or active officers or retired, if you donate, whoever donates the most amount of money in the name of the winner, you also will win a pair of gloves. They can only be owned by an agency, so you will have to donate to the agency. Or if you're active, you can donate them to your agency and theoretically be able to carry them after you're trained on them. It's a great opportunity, and it helps get the glove in the door of more agencies. So it's really a win-win. If you want to watch the video that I created, about 45 seconds long, and it shows me getting gloved and Travis getting gloved. Look, the time's been doctored, slow motion, so you're not going to be able to figure out who the winner is because, I couldn't even. But anyhow, all you have to do is go to one of our platforms. Go to our rumble.com platform, Leo Roundtable. Go to our Facebook page, Leo Roundtable, YouTube, LinkedIn. It's on all those platforms, so make sure you check that out. Well, guys, we are at time. Any final words for your fan base, Frank and Rich?
Go Pats.
Oh, that's right. Super Bowl. Yeah. I thought you were going to hold up Rich's cell number or something, but
no,
okay.
He's the king of the North now. You never told me, Chip, we could do that. I mean, if you could, I would have put something up there. I didn't know you could do that.
I should have had like an SOP, a rule, or rules and regulations or something about. I just now, this is like, an employer's nightmare. You got to keep coming up with new SOPs and policies to counter what, the guy does,
Well, it's very rare that I have enough of a signature block that I can just fit my last name in. So when I can fit more, why not? Plus, I got to man the wall, so it's all good.
Yeah, you got to take advantage of the real estate. I agree. Well, guys, thanks. Hey, streamers, you guys have been great. And just looking at some of the commentary over here, I've only met 2 New York City police officers, and they are, well, I can't even repeat that from MVS. He apparently isn't fond of those. And but they are the judges that release violent offenders and reoffenders should be held accountable for their actions. Totally agree with you, Bill BC. So, and really enjoy Frank and Rich on the show. Who wrote that? Chili wrote that. So yeah, you guys have got a big fan base going over at Rumble. So so thanks. And MVS has a pair of black and tan Gauze pants. So you got to love it. So we will let you streamers go. Thanks for watching the show. Remember, tomorrow 12 noon Eastern for our Friday show. We'll see you then.